This Native American tribe knew Jesus Christ was God and the prophesied Messiah of the Abrahamic faith within the Torah 6,000 years ago, which means they knew about the coming of their Messiah, Jesus Christ, at least 4,000 years before Jesus Christ was ever born or manifested in the flesh. This is concrete evidence that the book of Romans tells us that there are other people, tribes, and countries and nations, people that knew of God, that followed the Abrahamic faith. This is concrete evidence that God loved us so much that he actually revealed himself to different cultures and nations all around the world. This is an amazing new discovery. And the most interesting part about this, guys? I actually received a comment about this, but I actually come from the Havasupai tribe, guys. My ancestor goes back all the way back to the Havasupai tribe on my mother's side. And so it's really crazy because my lineage comes from the Havasupai tribe, and I recently actually found out that not only are they Christian today, but they've been Christian. So what happens all throughout history is they propagate this lie that the Native Americans were forced to convert to Christianity in these camps because of these Spaniards and white Europeans, when that's far from the reality, guys. The reason why they're actually Christian is because of God's grace and mercy and tender love. And they were Christian thousands of years ago before Christ was even manifested into the flesh. They believed in the Messiah to come. So, no, they didn't just become Christians 50, 100 years ago when these white Europeans came here and forced it down their throat, guys. These Native American tribes were literally already knowing, living, they had stories, biblical stories about the coming of the Messiah. They knew about Jesus Christ before these quote unquote white Europeans came. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, guys, because I have some really interesting information that is just undeniably proving the points that I'm making, guys. Undeniable beyond belief. So as you guys can see here, when I search up Havasupai tribe Christianity, it says many modern Havasupis have accepted Christianity, but still abide by ancient tradition and prayers as well. So basically, they try to make it seem like there's a distinction between ancient tradition and prayers from the Havasupai tribe and Christianity. Like Christianity is this modern day thing brought by the white male. When, guys, this is in fact far from reality. And I'm going to go ahead and show evidence, not only from a historical perspective, but I'm actually going to show evidence from an actual member of the Havasupai tribe themselves. And in fact, he's not just a member, but he's a really well renowned, respected leader of the Havasupai tribe to this day. So, as we actually look at this really cool, interesting article, it talks about the flood tales from the canyon. So, if you guys know anything from a geographical, scientific, or historical standpoint, we all know the reason why the Grand Canyon is the way it is because the sedimentary rocks is because there was a flood once upon a time. Now, whether you want to believe that's Noah's flood or another flood, all coincidentally throughout history, that's what scientists have agreed upon because the rocks, the way they're shaped, there's no other way that they could just be shaped in that canyon shape without some form of flood. That had to come from water, guys. That's the reason why it's structured that way. And so we also see that the natives that live in the Grand Canyon, and when I say they live in the Grand Canyon, I mean quite literally, these Havasupai tribe members quite literally live within, inside, deep below ground, inside the Grand Canyon. They actually live in there. And so they actually talk about their history and how they actually believe in the great flood stories, such as Noah, right? And so it states here Grand Canyon stands as an enduring monument to the worldwide flood. Along with the geology, it turns out the native traditions also speak of a great flood. Wow. The Hulapi people of Tall Pine occupy remote lands in western Grand Canyon, where ponderosa pine, elk, bighorn sheep, and cougar abound. At the foot of Oaxaca and Spirit Mountain in southernmost Nevada are ancient pictographs with a flood story interpreted for us in a published account by tribal elder and scholar Lucio Watahomongi. Prior to this, the story had been recounted only in oral tradition via dance and song. It contains these elements. Rains fell on the earth for 45 days, just like the Bible, guys. Very, very similar. The rising waters wiped out all peoples with the lone exception of an old man atop Spirit Mountain. The Creator eventually sent a bird to the man with instructions to dig with a ram's horn into the foot of the mountain to enable the waters to drain. The man obeyed, and soon the bird returned a second time with a grass in its beak to perform the man. The waters had receded. A second pictograph depicts a vessel carrying eight passengers across the waters from whom all the people of the earth were descended. It is unclear how the two pictographs are related. Miss Watahumigi insists the account came to her by oral tradition from her forefathers and that it is borrowed no elements from Christian influences. The Havasupai people of the blue green waters live in western Grand Canyon along beautiful Havasu Creek. According to their tradition, the medicine man prepared a hollow log for a young girl, animals, and provisions to survive the great flood. The rain came and the log floated on the water many days. The flood waters covered the whole earth, killing all people. The log eventually came to rest at Grand Canyon, and this young girl became the mother of all people. In an interview, Diana Ukwala, director of the Havasupai Tribal Museum, shared the Havasupai belief that Grand Canyon was formed by the receding waters of this great worldwide flood. In fact, other neighboring tribes have similar stories about the forming of the Grand Canyons. These Native American stories are part of a growing list of hundreds of ancient flood traditions all around the world that share common elements with the Genesis account. While details vary, these traditions all share elements of the whole earth being flooded and only a few survivors. It appears that cultures around the world have a distant memory of a common event in history, which God's word flawlessly records in Genesis chapter 6 through 8. Now, I want to go ahead and show you guys a video, but before I show you guys this video that shows evidence confirming what I'm saying from a native tribal leader, I want you guys to remember because I recently uploaded a video of how China actually talks about the Great Flood stories, even within their actual letters. So if you look at their modern day today, like their traditional letters that they write with, right? Their modern day Chinese letters, their traditional letters that they used to write. So they literally have words that represent Noah and the eight people from the ark that survived throughout the great flood. It's literally crazy because we're told all throughout history, right? Growing up in kindergarten through 12th grade and college and university, you become very educated, but you actually become very uneducated. Professing to be wise, they became fools, like the word of God tells us. And so you go to college for this education, you end up thinking, oh, well, the Chinese people, they were always Buddhists. The natives, they always practiced pagan witchcraft. They were just a bunch of weird satanic sacrificing cults. And, over there, the people in the Middle East, they were just a bunch of weird pagan weirdos and this and that. No, guys, what? That is far from reality. That is not true. All people from all across the world, they all knew about the coming of the Messiah of Jesus Christ. It didn't matter if they were in Peru, if they were in America, if they were in China, if they were in Iran. They knew about the coming of the Messiah of Jesus Christ. And that's what I want to prove to you guys is that all of these people, think about the three wise men that knew about Jesus Christ. How did they know? Because people of different nations, of different backgrounds, of different prestiges, they knew about Jesus Christ and his coming. That's how powerful our God is that people from all across the face of the earth knew about Jesus Christ before he was incarnated into the flesh. This isn't a Chinese God. This isn't a European God. This isn't a black God. This isn't a Hispanic or an African God. This isn't anybody's God. This is a God that belongs to all of us. We're unworthy of him, yet he loved us so much. He intricately, intimately, and intelligently created each and every single one of us in his design. That's how beautiful our creator is, guys. Now I'm going to go ahead and play this video because it gets very interesting in how he explains everything. Now, obviously, he does have his own traditional beliefs and things of that nature, but I want you guys to be able to chew the meat and spit the bones, because we do know that although he does have his traditional beliefs, the main concept is that they believe in Jesus Christ. And regardless if you want to think that the natives are, the people that we all come from, or that we all came from the Grand Canyon, or you believe we all came from Africa, the point remains is that these people believe in Jesus Christ, regardless if you disagree or agree with them on other things or not. Okay.
The Havasupai people have always lived here, originated from the Grand Canyon many thousands of years ago. They came up from the center of the earth when, long time ago, in the Bible stories, there was a great flood. Our stories are similar to the Bible, where we lived through the three worlds. The one world where we originated from was the center of the earth, center of the world. A long time ago, the people came up from the ground, and this place of origin, we call it, is in the confluence of the Grand Canyon, where the canyon meets the Colorado, and we've been living here for many thousands of years. When we first originated from the earth, there were four races of man from the center of the earth. These are the four sacred colors: red, white, yellow, and black. Once they came out of the ground, the red people stayed here. The yellow people, the white people, and the black people went their separate ways. And so now we say that towards the end of the world, the end of the creation, the four races of man will unite again. This is the story, a prophecy that's been told by our people for many years. That's our origin story. We lived here in the Grand Canyon for many years. Our place of Aboriginal homeland, 10, 15 miles from the Grand Canyon National Park, is a place we call Wiikadwisa. This is a place of origin for our people. This is where we've been living for thousands of years. And that's a very sacred place for us, our people. And when the people came from across the sea to take over this land, the continent, they moved us from our Aboriginal homeland into this land we now are standing in. It's Havasu Canyon. We've been isolated here for many years, many years, hundreds of years now, since the people who came across the sea, the ocean, divided and conquered the people of this continent, the original inhabitants. We're now misplaced from our home. Our home is the Grand Canyon originally. So the National Park Service, the Forest Service now are making these boundaries to where we cannot go back home to our land anymore. So this is our permanent home in the Grand Canyon. And it's also told that towards the end of the man's evolution, that we're going to one day return home to our land at the Aboriginal homelands that were our lands before. This is why the now people, our councils, are working towards expanding and moving out of the canyon here. And we're starting to develop our homes up at Grand Canyon National Park. It's called Supai Camp. That's where we're living too before we move down here. And we're starting to do expansion up on the plateau lands to where we could have more room where our people are growing nowadays. And we're gonna start to move out of the canyon to live on top of the plateau. And it's been prophesied too. One day the Supai Kachina, will leave the Supai Canyon and come up on top of the world and tell the people of all the bad things that have been happening on the Mother Earth, the pollutions and the global warming and things like that will be told by a member of our tribe. And this is not going to be a normal person. It's a Supai Kachina. He's going to have many blessings with him, like a medicine person. He's going to go out of the canyon and warn the people of the coming of the end of the world. So with this, we call this land Havasupai in English, but Havasupaja. Havasupaja means the people of the blue-green water. We take care of this land. We take care of this canyon with the spring waters, the sacred spring waters that we're created from. And the land also sustains us and the animals, the birds, the plants that are in the canyon. These are all sacred elements that make up us as a human being, and we call this canyon our home. We will continue to live here, thrive here, as long as we keep our sacred covenant, our sacred songs, our sacred dances, our sacred ways of planting the corn, the squash, the watermelon. These things have sustained us through the dark ages. As long as we keep our covenant, that we will be living here and continue the old way like we have for thousands of years. We thank the Creator every day for allowing us to live here, to be able to live under that title, Guardians of the Grand Canyon. That's very, very sacred for our people. We need to continue teaching the children about who we are, what we are, and the messages that are brought forth from our teachings, our elders. We need to continue educating other people, other nations that come here to visit us, to take care of the land, take care of the water and the air. These things are sacred, these things that allow us to live and continue living. The Havasupai people membership is 670
That's
tribal members.
crazy. If that doesn't blow your mind, I don't know what will. Like, literally, it's so amazing how God has preserved different societies and civilizations and nations throughout history. I mean, you even see all of these nations that were once godly nations, these tribes and these people that were once godly people and nations and tribes and countries and groups still being preserved throughout the test of times, guys. They still hold on to the faith of Jesus Christ, even through all of this paganism and witchcraft and all this Roman Catholicism coming into the country of the natives. And then even when you look at China and the Middle East and all this stuff in the Islamic Arab conquest and how they tried to force Islam down the throat of so many Middle Eastern and African Christians, and how many of them still profess boldly that Jesus Christ is Lord and God. Wow, guys. It just lets you know the power of our God, the mighty God that we serve, Jesus Christ, and the strength and resilience he gives us as born Christians, guys. This is powerful, guys, because it's so far and it's contrary to what they teach us in schools. No, our ancestors were not pagan witches, guys. Our ancestors were Christians. They were born again Christians. And if they weren't Christians because they were before Christ, guess what? They knew of the coming of Jesus Christ. Wow, guys, that's powerful. Your bloodline, your family, your lineage, somewhere around the along the road, thousands of years ago, they knew about the coming of the Messiah of Jesus Christ. That's powerful, guys. They weren't Buddhists, they weren't Taoists, they weren't Hindus, they weren't pagan rock kissers, guys. They knew about the coming of Jesus Christ. Now, somewhere along the road, maybe your family lineage became diluted with lies of the enemy and Satan. But before that, thousands of years ago, they knew about the coming of Jesus Christ. That's powerful, guys. And if you guys don't know, we're saved by grace through faith alone in Jesus Christ. The thing that saves you is you must repent and believe in the gospel of Jesus Christ. And that gospel is that Jesus Christ is God and that he died on the cross and 3 days after resurrected. If you believe in that, you shall be saved. It's that simple, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoy, please smash that like button, share, comment your opinions below. I'd love to hear them. And I hope that this video was edifying. If it was, please go ahead and share. And I hope that you enjoy.